10 to 11, right here on Nuga Radio.
If you want to discover the real hope for your life through inspirational music, relevant messages, and testimonies from others who have already found hope, then we encourage you to visit the second annual My Hope Conference, October 7th through 9th at Hickson First Baptist Church. Free admission and childcare is provided for kids up to pre-K, while those in kindergarten through 5th grade will attend the Kids Hope Rally. For more info, visit myhopeconference.com or call Hickson First Baptist Church at 423-877-2467.
92.7 Nuga Radio.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good people, beautiful people here in the city of Chattanooga. It's your girl Marie Mott with Marie Mott Show. Y'all know what it is. I'm taking it from the streets to City Hall, from City Hall to the mayor's office. Can't leave out the city council or the police department. From the valley lows to the mountaintop, giving you guys a bird's eye view to what's going on here in the city of Chattanooga. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, man. The week is getting started off very, very well. And remember that even if you didn't wake up in a good mood, you didn't wake up with everything going right, because that's life sometimes, right? If you are alive, you're blessed. Somebody didn't wake up this morning. It was over for somebody. So if you're still here, it's another day to fight to make it a better day for you than the day before. And y'all know what it is when you tune into me. I'm always fighting, right? Does it ever go away? Do I ever turn it off? You'd be surprised. No. Probably came out the womb of my mother fighting. It's Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show, Nuga Radio 92.7. As always, the call-in number is the same, 800-8949. If you want to call and chop it up with me as well, I'm streaming live on Facebook, Nuga Radio 92.7 FM page. Do like Nick and say hello if you can't call in. But we're going to have an honest conversation because I've been talking about a lot of things that have led up to what I'm going to talk about today, because we got to be done with compromise. Compromise because of jobs, compromise because of business relationship, compromise because of what people will say about us, compromise because what people will think about us, compromise because sometimes walking with the truth is a lonely and long winding road. If the house is ever going to move away from being divided, we're going to have to end with a compromise. We got to end with, and I'm not saying end with a compromise. We got to end saying that we have to compromise. I don't believe the truth must be compromised. I believe that the ignorance is something that we got to move away from. The stupidity is something that we got to turn away from. If we're going to turn our back on something, it has to be the things that don't work. If we're going to turn our back on something, it has to be the things that have proven to be untrue. But if we're going to embrace something, if we're going to stop the house from being divided, we got to tell the truth, run with the truth, push the truth, embrace the truth, walk with the truth, talk the truth, live the truth. Come on, man. A house divided will end the moment we refuse to compromise the truth. And what is the truth that Marie wants to talk about? We're compromising in so many areas. Our city council back in January, because all I can do is just state the case. I report, you decide. Hopefully, sometimes I preach and you listen. I spit facts, you fact check. In January, our city council ended a partnership with Father to the Fatherless, which was an organization that was started to help deter young people in the inner city from being in gangs. And understand, because I've talked about it quite often. A lot of the work, the good work, the effective work that I see being done in the city of Chattanooga It's not really being done by the people who get tens and thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in funds through their charities and organization. I see the common person, the common man, the common woman, the common citizen, like Kevin Muhammad with the Nation of Islam, Pastor Timothy Carruthers and his wife Jill Carruthers, and the West Side Missionary Baptist Church, forming an alliance between Muslim and Christian, because it's not about religion. It's about the work that must be done in our city. And understand, if we focus on only the differences between us, we will be a house divided forever. But the truth is that work must be done. People must be helped. People must be served. And if we let things divide us because of things like religion and things that we can't agree on, we won't agree on the work that must be done. And so they feed people. They get clothes that other places would charge poor people to pay for and hand them out for free. Hand out water, hand out food. They started a community garden because often where poor people and people of color live, there are no grocery stores. A luxury that sometimes certain luxuries that people don't even think about. That there are people and places in this city that don't have something as simple as a grocery store. But how would you know that if you don't do the work? You won't work with your neighbor, your friend, because maybe they're African American, or maybe they serve God by a different name, but in reality, in the ancientness of God, he's the same person, whether the Israeli person calls him Jehovah, or I call him God, or the Muslim calls him Allah. We are all doing his work. So it don't matter what I call him. The Hispanic may call him Dios. The Rastafari may call him Jah. It's just a name. But the fact that even our mayor made a statement, and I got to roast him on this, because when you quote the word of God, all I can do is hit you upside the head for what you said. It's interesting that in the State of the People address, the mayor would invoke the name of God in the opening of his statement and say that God created the heavens and the earth, and said that basically because he believed that God created the heavens and the earth and created us as well in his image, that this also, the city under God's eye, God's view, is a city of creators. But if you keep on reading the word, you flip from that Old Testament to that New Testament, you'll see a transition where God originally wanted us to be free indeed. We didn't have kings and queens and presidents and senators and commissioners and councils. All we had were judges who were elected by the people. We didn't need people standing over us, telling us what to do and how to do it. That's freedom for me. Nobody needs to tell me what to do. Just need the freedom to operate how I choose. And so, because people just feel a need to praise and exalt some people over others, we see where we created this whole system of laws, just a ridiculous amount of laws. We begged for a king. We begged for leadership when we were already free. And saw this transition from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Dear Mayor Burke, keep reading the word of God. You started off in a good direction, but if you kept on reading, you would see that Christ, who would come here and have no place to lay his head, like many people in the city of Chattanooga. Nothing to eat on a daily basis, like many people in the city of Chattanooga. No source of income, like many people in the city of Chattanooga. That Christ would condense all of the laws that were man-made into just two things: to love God, Allah, Dios, Jah, Jehovah, with all your heart, and then to love your neighbor, because that's the person you see absolutely every day. And that all of the law of the prophets hang on just those two things alone: love God and love people. And you can't love God if you don't love people. You can't invoke God and say that this is the city of creators if you don't love people enough to not step over them when they have no place to stay. And that you will get people to ensure that there won't be a scandal because we will start asking questions about taxpayer dollar and accountability to bulldoze what little belongings that they have in an attempt to cover up the scandal that we have an increasing number of homeless. But we don't have a problem spending $10.4 million in a park downtown. Y'all, if my radio programmer ever wanted me to lay it on the table, I can only lay it on the table this way, in this manner, in this time. Then are we more concerned about looking a certain way, looking like money, but not having any, looking like we are somebody and we're mistreating those who don't have, looking like the city of Chattanooga is prospering, but we won't invest in the citizens here? $10.4 million for Miller Park, and we cut a $600,000 request for 2 years for Father to the Fatherless to deter young people from being involved in gangs. But to me, the even bigger question is that how do people get in gangs in the first place? How do people get funneled into prisons in the first place? How often is it that people get hooked on drugs in the first place? I haven't seen a problem with getting drugs here in the city of Chattanooga because you haven't really seen any reports about it since 2016, but it was more rich white people who were overdosing on drugs, doctors, lawyers, real estate developers who were overdosing in 2015, 2016 on heroin and meth, which continues to be a problem. I ain't heard nobody say anything about drugs. We don't have any problem getting drugs here, but you're telling me that we could create food deserts and even create a food desert in places like Brainerd where we just closed down a food city. We don't have any money to keep businesses. It's something as simple as a grocery store, which is not just a grocery store, but also where people can go get things like medication. We won't flow city dollars to deter people from going to prison, right? Because I don't believe anybody wakes up and just wants to be in the gang. Mike Steele has called very often and said that you got in the gang because you just didn't want to get beat up. And I believe a lot of young people, gangs, number one, because I've talked about it here more than enough, there seems to be a lack of love in the world in general, certainly here in the most churched city in America, where you can't turn a corner and not run into a church. But still, we have an increasing number of people who are strung out, homeless, jobless, and living in areas where they can't even get the basic necessities to even live. And the fact that we've been talking about these instances, having these conversations for hundreds of years about something as simple as loving the person who is your neighbor. Being concerned more about your neighbor and what's going on with the people who are around you than how you feel and what you want. $600,000. And then they went back to a VRI initiative, which didn't work before. It still isn't working now. They went back to the VRI initiative, which people like Assistant Police Chief Glenn Scruggs, who loves to troll and stalk my Facebook page. But if I asked him to explain to me where he is as the Assistant Police Chief and where everyone else is about the rape allegations, he wouldn't give me any answers. They don't mind stalking my Facebook page, only commenting on instances about police trying to so-called check me. No, Mr. Glenn Scruggs. Check your police officers. Do that for a change. Stop stalking my page, giving your opinion. I don't want your opinion. I don't need your opinion. What I need you to do, sir, since you want to hop on my page and stalk me, what I need you to do is stand up for the truth. And the truth is that if you got women coming forward and then that your boss, yeah, does it hurt? Oh, man, y'all, does it hurt? Yes. Let me talk to you for a moment, sir. Trying to sell to me that the VRI initiative works. And the only way I've seen any police officers even do anything remotely close in the city of Chattanooga to getting anything done was they just locked up 54 people under a RICO statute. As if every black person who gets in trouble here is in organized crime. Do you want to know what organized crime is? Really? Organized crime is seeing starving people, hungry people. I guess I'm just simple on this. Hungry people, starving people, jobless people, and having the resources to help them, having the churches on every corner that should be encouraging you to help them, and you not doing that. I call that organized crime. I call that organized crime. I call organized crime giving the police department $74.4 million, which is 52% of our operating budget in the first place. But having no job, no training, no counseling for people who are coming out of prisons so they don't have to go back. I call that organized crime. I call organized crime the city council who appoints the police chief. The police chief who would lie to cover up the rape allegations in the first place because he stated that nobody came forward. Nobody had ever complained, and that turned out to be a lie. He didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. They haven't spoken up about any of the officers who have continued. One instance, it started with just one, and every month it's been 2 or 3 instances. And the kicker is all of them have been African American. This man hasn't lost his job, and the people can't fire him because the police chief is a political appointment and not something like a sheriff where we actually do our due diligence, our constitutional diligence in voting for them in the first place. Look, you know what? Let me go back. Let me step back into the past for a moment. Where I talked about it last week. The lazy legislature. The lazy legislator. The people who are responsible for the first level of defense in our government and serving the people who refuse to do their job unless they want to talk about an ordinance to criminalize people, such as the panhandling ordinance, which the only reason that wasn't successful was because enough people decided to fight against that. What would happen if people would just stand up and fight every instance of criminality and wrong that continues to happen at the hands of the people who have power? Where would the city of Chattanooga be? But at least that was one. But they, seriously, this is how toxic. Now, you want to talk about organized crime? You're telling me that somebody who does not have, who has been, who whether by their own doing or just by circumstances or life or things that happen, have been reduced to the level of being homeless and penniless, are already having to ask somebody else to have mercy on them and have grace on them by just loaning them a couple of dollars, that we would criminalize people for their poverty. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? And we will legitimately lie to ourselves, saying and agreeing with the mayor who seems to get anything that he darn well pleases. All he got to do is ask for it. Nobody checks him. He doesn't even come to the city council meetings. even though he is a council member. You're telling me you don't even have to show up to the board meetings, but you get to make all the decisions? Where they do that at? Am I universalist? No, I'm an objectivist. I'm a truth teller. I don't believe in coddling people because the American mind, the American people have been coddled far too long. Far too long. People have held your hand at every instance, and it's time for you to stand up, use your backbone, use your voice, while folks talk about, all Marie do is just get on and yell. Well, you know what? Where are you? Do you meet me at the city council? Do you use your voice? Are you just keyboard capping? And that's the extent of your due diligence and your servitude to the people. Shirley Chisholm stated that service is the rent you pay for room on this earth. Service is the rent I pay for the price of being here. And it's not comfortable being an American, and it's certainly not comfortable having my mind made up about where I want this city to go and how I want people to serve the very people that they say that they represent. Y'all stay tuned for the second half of the segment. I'm going in.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Tyrone Murphy, the man convicted in the killing of Ashley Cates, was sentenced to life in prison. The jury made their decision after just 1 hour of deliberations. Investigators say Miss Cates was stabbed 23 times in her apartment. The court case concluded on Friday. A man described as extremely drunk was arrested on I-75 yesterday. Cops say he was lying on his back holding a cardboard sign. EMTs said that he was heavily intoxicated. His name, Gordon Miller, charged with public intoxication and aggressive panhandling after he was caught at the same location a second time, again drunk. Police in Pisgah, Alabama say a high schooler was arrested over Snapchat threats. Jackson County Chief Deputy Rocky Harnan says the student posted a picture of a pistol on Snapchat, said people shouldn't attend class on Monday. School officials say a parent told them about the threat. School was let in today, but under heightened security. Val St. John for Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7, Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nooga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Get 8.1% return on your money. Rick Davis can turn your cash into real money. Gold and silver bullion. American Eagle Gold. The banks give you a measly 1.9%. At Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, you'll get 8.1% return on your money. 8.1% return on your money. Wow! Whether you're buying an ounce or 100 ounces, Rick guarantees it in writing. 8.1% Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
It's that time of year again. For the 7th year, Wings Over North Georgia Air Show will be Saturday, October the 13th, and Sunday, October the 14th. You'll see some of our government's finest assets flying in the world today. The rarely seen Air Combat F-22 Raptor demo team and the A-10 Warthog will both headline the show, along with Tora Tora Tora, which is the reenactment of Pearl Harbor to include pyrotechnics. Patty Wagstaff and Michael Goulian, both world aerobatic champions, will be showing off their amazing skills, along with numerous other aviation rock stars. On the ground, you'll be able to experience military static displays and even have an opportunity to ride in a Huey or Cobra helicopter. Wings Over North Georgia is an action-packed way to spend a weekend with your family. You can even camp on the grounds. The Richard B. Russell Regional Airport is the place for all the action on October the 13th and the 14th. For tickets and camping reservations, visit wingsovernorthgeorgia.com.
Join Nooga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long, and we're pet friendly. Portions of all proceeds support local schools and educational scholarships, as well as after-school programs. It's football time in Tennessee. Join us every Thursday live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, 10 North, your North Shore neighborhood living room.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga roofing contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust. Man, you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I worked with my dad on his truck all the time. Just one more bolt to go.
Yeah, wrong bolt. Today's truck ain't your daddy's truck. For repairs on today's vehicles, you need Amco Transmission and Total Car Care of Chattanooga on Lee Highway. Stay on the road, not in the garage. Amco Transmission on Lee Highway. Get it done the right way. The Thompson Pet way. Yeah, I just put that anywhere.
Join We've Got You Covered with Scott Schrader every Saturday from 10 to 11 on Nuga Radio. From finance to fixtures, we discuss everything you need to know about buying or owning a home, the pitfalls, the perks, and everything in between. Saturday mornings, 10 to 11, right here on Nuga Radio.
Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Warming up out there for your afternoon with partly cloudy skies. Can't rule out a stray shower, but most of us staying dry. Highs upper 80s. Tonight, lows back into the mid and upper 60s. A little late fog. For the midweek, though, more sunshine, hot and dry through Thursday with highs each day around 90. Check out Glass Farm Nursery, now open with violas and pansies, only $14.99 per flat, as well as beautiful 8-inch mums, only $5.99. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Snore Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Pastor 4.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
If service is the rent I pay for room on this earth, I'm paying my rent on time every month. Because it's all about service for me. I don't care if anybody knows my name when they see me. I don't care if I get a award or a placard. I don't care if somebody pats me on the back. I don't care if somebody tells me a good job. I'm paying my rent on time. And that's through service. Let me go back. One of the most famous speeches by Mr. Abraham Lincoln that he ever wrote. And he said before he would give the speech, he read it to his law partner, William Herndon, who said that it was far too radical for the occasion that he would speak at on June 16, 1858. Mr. President and gentlemen of the convention, if we could first know where we are and whether we are tending, we could then better judge what to do and how to do it. We are far now from the 5th year since a policy was initiated with the avowed object and confident promise of putting an end to slavery agitation. Under the operation of that policy, that agitation has not only not ceased, but constantly augmented. In my opinion, it will not cease until a crisis shall have been reached and passed. For a house divided against itself surely cannot stand. And I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. The words recorded on the first opening of Mr. Abraham Lincoln's House Divided speech. We're not dealing with anything new. The reality is we'll probably always have poor people. Always. We will always have poor, those without. But what we should always have is a concern for the poor, for the widowed and the orphan. What we should have is love for one another. What we should have is a voice, a backbone, and a made-up mind. A made-up mind. That we're not going to continue to be divided against ourselves. based on color, creed, religion, socioeconomic status, sexual preference, gender. But the reality is that we're all in America's house. And either we're putting out the fires or we're watching it burn to the ground while we're trapped inside. Make no mistake, good people, dear listener, friend, native, whether you moved here or you're a native, no matter who you are, kingdoms have risen and have fallen. Let me say that again. Kingdoms have been raised up and they have also crumbled to the ground. The ideology of democracy is what failed Rome, which is where we get the basis, the backbone of our society in the first place. Rome is no more. Are we foolish enough to think that we can continue to be a house divided and we will survive? We can talk. We can believe in the progressive ideology, the conservative ideology. The reality is that the divide has been deepened more than ever before. It used to be the divide was only on color, but now we are divided on color, on gender. We're divided in socioeconomic status because we can look back at the instances such as Bacon's Rebellion and see that poor people of all kinds made up in their mind that they were tired of being locked into poverty and that they had to do some work. But now we have more divisions, more Grand Canyon divisions than ever before in American society. How are we going to survive if these rifts in our society continue to deepen and widen? If you would love to explain that to me, please call in at 800-8949. But I don't see how it's going to work. And one of the reasons why I've asked and petitioned for people to care about what is happening right here under our noses in the inner city of Chattanooga is because I've seen these instances beginning to spread into the surrounding areas of the city of Chattanooga. What's the evidence? Constance Giles, who called the police for help and ended up being the one arrested. What's the evidence, Marie? The lady who would get shot through her windshield in Saudi Daisy. See, it didn't happen here in the inner city. These women aren't Black or Latino or Native American. The reality is that one of the reasons why it's important for the city of Chattanooga to turn around and do what is right is because we are setting a precedent and an example for the surrounding areas. The eyes of people are watching the city. We've shot to the top by spending billions of dollars in our downtown area on how it looks. But if they look beyond looks at what is underneath, the soul and the very core of Chattanooga is toxic as ever. It's like the man who falls in love with the woman who looks good, but soon realizes that she has no soul. Or the man or the woman that falls in love with a man. Oh, and he looks good but on the surface, but he'll beat her to sleep every night. It's more than looks, baby. What is the soul? What does the soul say? The soul to me says that we are deficient. And is that not what we should be fixing? Is the soul, the very lifeline, the bloodline of the city of Chattanooga? The soul, the saving of the soul. It's difficult for me to express what I think, and what I believe, and what I know without bringing God into the conversation. Faith, hope, love. Faith one day is going to pass away. Hope one day is going to pass away. And the only thing that's going to remain is love. 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 If we're not doing what we're doing in love, when we're doing it for a personal gain, some way, some shape, some fashion. We're not getting transparency from this government, and that is intentional. We live in the 21st century where if we don't have an answer to any problem, you can say, "Hey, Siri," if you have an iPhone, or you can say, "Hey, Google," if you have an Android. There's no reason for us to be operating how we continue to operate, because if you'll do like David Toulis and go buy a law book, if you don't know, you can read. The phone lines are dry today, and I figured it would be. That's okay. It's firmly okay. It's okay. I hope that when nobody calls in, that means the wheels are turning. The wheels are turning. But Chattanooga has to do something different because everybody's watching. Saudi Daisy, Dunlap, East Ridge, where I'm at, East Ridge. These surrounding areas, they're watching. You don't think Nashville and Memphis and Knoxville are not watching the city of Chattanooga? You don't think other people... The interesting thing is, and if you didn't tune in Saturday to hear this, during the ribbon cutting ceremony, the mayor was giving whether he realized it or not, he was throwing people up under the bus and telling all the secrets. He said that people from the city of St. Louis, Missouri were here getting an idea of how they can take some of the things that are happening here in the city of Chattanooga, which has been listed as one of the most inequitable cities here, cities in the nation. How they can take some of what we're doing, and I question what they want to take from Chattanooga and implement it in St. Louis, Missouri. Is it gentrification? We're doing a great job of doing that. Is it drug problems and never talking about it or fixing that? Is it having an extreme amount of people being shuffled from the county jail to Core Civic? We're doing a good job of that. Is it having terrible schools? Excellent. We're passing that with flying colors. Is it spending money on downtown things while the rest of the areas that surround downtown legitimately starve? What did they want to take from here, the city of Chattanooga, and implement in St. Louis, Missouri? That troubled me, that people would travel so far to take a business model that is not even working. We made the top 10 list of worst ran cities in the nation. What possibly could they gain from talking to our mayor or anybody on our city council? Because even the mayor himself, that's why I said he just didn't know he threw people up under the bus. The mayor himself said, and I got it recorded, that he could not have done the job, which if you understand basic government 101, the mayor, because he legitimately is part of the city council, him and his staff are responsible for coming up with the budget, but it is the city council that approves it. You see, that's why when they play the games of we don't have any responsibility, no, you're lying. You're lying. That's a lie. And I'm not going to call it anything. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. That's a lie. Because you approved the mayor's budget. And if you didn't like any of the things that he was doing, the moment to speak up is to vote no. It's simple. Well, I don't want to spend $74.4 million with the police department. Why? Because I represent a neighborhood that doesn't even have grocery stores. And people need to eat. simple for me. I'm not political, but I'm just community minded. To me, this is simple. Take care of Maslow's hierarchy of needs first, which means that until we have at least the overwhelming majority of Chattanoogans, which have a place to stay, running water, and food, anything else that we legitimately spend money on is frivolous. And certainly, if we're just carving up the city of Chattanooga for developers who continue to build places that I don't understand who can afford them, who is going to live there? I'm struggling. I'm struggling. I'm struggling. Because to me, y'all remember those commercials that came out about how bad, really kind of talking about our elderly who have a special place in my heart because I spent the majority of my life with my grandmothers. I was raised by my grandmothers. And so I can't imagine elderly people who paid taxes for the majority of their life being put in a predicament where they have to choose between eating or medicine. If we're living in a world like that, but we got shiny skyscrapers, our priorities are jacked up. Do we care more about our personal comfort than we truly care about people, community, people? And I think the foolish thing is, what is the cost, the maintenance cost? What is it going to be for us to keep up with the cost of maintaining everything that we continue to build? Good morning. Talk to me.
I'm going to chop it up with you and I'm going to throw something out to you.
Okay.
Coming from a conservative that hates government intervention in anything, I can't change the government intervenes. I can't change the government steals your money to redistribute to help huge businesses and to give people tax breaks and to brainwash kids in government schools. So since I can't change that, and it's going to take 100 years for people to realize what's going on before they fix it, since government is already stealing our money and they've got $10 million to waste on a project that didn't even need to be done, wouldn't it make more sense as a manager to look at the area that you're managing and find out where it's broken and fix it? Like, maybe if you're going to give a tax break or encourage someone to come in, look at a community that doesn't have a grocery store or convenience store or whatever it needs, and then talk to a business and say, you know what? We've given these guys tax breaks. If you go into this area where the city owns a little piece here, we'll give you that piece of land and we'll defer taxes for 10 years. But that's so you as a capitalist can help feed these people. If you're worried about security, I'll tell you what we'll do too. You can hire our off-duty police officers to secure that, and we will fund that for the next year or two. Marie, this is easily fixed. There's no will to do it. There's no desire to do it. Because here's what it comes down to. People that don't have money don't have power, and no one cares about them. Look at the poor Jews in Nazi Germany. They were the first ones to go after. It's not even really color. It's a matter of, you know what? What are these people contributing to society? Since they're contributing nothing, they're worth nothing. And that's the way they're looked at. And that's what I want to ask any politician. If someone is not, in your mind, contributing what you think is contributing to society, which, see, they think contributing to society is having a job and paying taxes. That's the way their warped mind works. And people that are poor and are elderly are not doing that. So they look at them as a leech. And what do you do with leeches? You kill them. You shoo them away. The problem is the thinking. Nothing changes until we change their methodology and the way they think.
That was Mr. Mike Steele, always dropping it on us. It is our mind state. It goes into the mind. The mind. Where are we in our mindset that we legitimately will buy into? I don't know. Maybe I'm one of a few folks, because it's very rare that you meet anybody who goes this hard, who understands the simplicity of the issues, and really that there is a way to fix it. But it is about, do we really have representation? Do we really have that? And if we don't, is it possible for us to shift and change that dynamic? Is it even possible? Or are we just going to be stuck in a burning house until America is no more? Because 100 years, can America survive on the trajectory that it's going for another 100 years? Can Chattanooga survive? Really? Genuinely? On the trajectory that we're going on for another 100 years? Or is it going to be a possibility, like me and David, we talk about it very often. Y'all need to tune in to David. 1 to 3 every day. Are we just waiting for the next social collapse to happen? And then we're just going to be running around scatterbrained, surprised. This is Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show, talking to you, the listener, concerned about what is happening to you, around you, and hopefully encouraging you, the individual, to get up, get out the house, and do something to change what is happening here in the city of Chattanooga. And maybe set an example for the eyes that are watching the city of Chattanooga. Y'all know what it is. Marie Mott with the Marie Mott Show. Meet me at City Council at 6, because I'm going to be there. Oh, man. Y'all know my moniker. If no one has taken the time today to tell you that they love you, I love you. And y'all know, it's nothing that you can do about that. Y'all make sure y'all have a great day here in the city of Chattanooga. It's a beautiful day.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Tyrone Murphy, the man convicted in the killing of Ashley Cates, was sentenced to life in prison. The jury made their decision after just 1 hour of deliberations. Investigators say Miss Cates was stabbed 23 times in her apartment. The court case concluded on Friday. A man described as extremely drunk was arrested on I-75 yesterday. Cops say he was lying on his back holding a cardboard sign. EMTs said that he was heavily intoxicated. His name, Gordon Miller, charged with public intoxication and aggressive panhandling after he was caught at the same location a second time, again drunk. Police in Pisgah, Alabama say a high schooler was arrested over Snapchat threats. Jackson County Chief Deputy Rocky Harnan says the student posted a picture of a pistol on Snapchat, said people shouldn't attend class on Monday. School officials say a parent told them about the threat. School was let in today, but under heightened security. Val St. John for Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7, Action News now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
Warming up out there for your afternoon with partly cloudy skies. Can't rule out a stray shower, but most of us staying dry. Highs upper 80s. Tonight, lows back into the mid and upper 60s. A little late fog. For the midweek, though, more sunshine, hot and dry through Thursday with highs each day around 90. Check out Glass Farm Nursery, now open with violas and pansies, only $14.99 per flat, as well as beautiful 8-inch mums, only $5.99. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sore Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist, Pastor 4.
Whether you have marginal, moderate, or even extensive hair loss, you don't have to live with it. Finally, there's a procedure that becomes a part of you, and it requires no daily maintenance or special care. Let Apollo Hair Systems give you a free hair and scalp analysis today. Call 423-803-1011 and schedule this free evaluation today. Open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Apollo Hair Systems, 5512 Ringgold Road in Chattanooga. 423-803-1011 for Apollo Hair Systems.
For years, America's most liberal politicians have pushed a radical government takeover of healthcare, and so has multimillionaire politician Phil Bredesen. Bredesen is on record in the Tennessee press supporting single-payer healthcare. Bredesen even wrote a book advocating for socialized medicine. Even the Los Angeles Times called it, quote, pretty radical stuff. Phil Bredesen's government-run healthcare system would cost $2 trillion a year and hike payroll taxes 20% for every worker. Even worse, Bredesen's plan would eliminate your family's employer-provided health insurance, making you dependent on the government and giving bureaucrats more powers over your health care. Higher taxes, bigger government, rationed care. Phil Bredesen's government takeover of health care is too big a risk. We can't afford him in the Senate. Senate Leadership Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.senateleadershipfund.org.
Call 423-875-3600 if you're looking to expand your professional look of your business. Then consider the vast opportunities that are available when you locate your office with the Raines Group family. Remember, it's location, location, location. And the Raines Group has the location for your professional office. Check out the spaces for lease at Executive Business Park on the Lee Highway. Small or large, we will build to suit your needs with the Raines Group. Call 423-875-3600 for the business professionals with the Raines Group.
We just started a family and we're already planning for the future. Michael Levy has helped pave the way to keep our financial future on track. He's local, he knows us, and cares about what's important to us. Don't put your future on hold. Call Michael Levy, 779-7755.
Hey, dude, check this out. Have you ever seen one so big?
Whoa, look at the size of that.
Look at this little itty-bitty one.
Wow, that's really small.
They have them big, small, and everything in between. You'll always find the biggest variety of knives at the knife shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. We're talking about over 40 brands of knives, including Benchmade, WR Case & Sons, Booker, and all the Frost Cutlery brands. Now, Sam, you've been to the cutlery shop. Is it amazing?
Spectacular. The knife shop at Frost Cutlery in Ottawa. They have knives, swords, kitchen knives, ammo, and reloading supplies, plus survival gear.
It's the knife shop at Frost Cutlery. They're open 7 days a week. Hey, girls, you're going to love this. We're going to the knife shop. Hey, let's not tell them they have ammo and loading supplies. The knife shop at
WPLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga.
Serving Chattanooga.
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe, the Tennessee Valley's most listened to news talk station.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Quicken Loans.
I'm Steve Kaith, and the U.S. and China stepping up their economic war of words and actions. Beijing's responded to the latest U.S. tariffs, now targeting $60 billion of American goods. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger on the Trump administration's latest move.
Starting Monday, the U.S. will begin charging a 10% tariff on thousands of Chinese imports. Tires, windshield wipers, baseball gloves. The list runs 194 pages. Now, that 10% tax, it will jump to 25% in 2019 if the two countries don't somehow agree to avert escalating this trade war.
Well, the stage is set for a showdown Monday in the U.S. Senate. Under oath testimony from Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh and the woman who accuses him of a sexual assault dating back to their teen years, Christine Blasey Ford. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell.
Dr. Ford will be heard. And of course, Judge Kavanaugh will have the opportunity to defend himself against this accusation, an accusation which he has unequivocally denied.
Officials are handing out food and water to thousands in Wilmington, North Carolina today, one of the areas hardest hit by Hurricane Florence. CBS's David Begnaud is covering.
The water is still rising. Roads are still cut off. And what happens is as the high tide comes in, the roads become even more impassable. As the high tide drops and it becomes low tide, then you might be able to get through with a high water vehicle.
North Carolina's governor says even though the rain has stopped, floodwaters could continue to rise for several days. An arrest has been made in yesterday's killing of a top college golfer in Ames, Iowa. 22-year-old Celia Arizamena was from Spain, starred at Iowa State, and was stabbed to death on a golf course. Police official Jeff Huff says a homeless man's been charged and authorities want help from witnesses.
If anybody was out in the area around Coldwater at that time of day, around probably between 9:30 and 10:30, if you saw anything suspicious, people coming into or leaving the area, we'd certainly like to hear from you to make sure we have that information and either rule it out or rule it in as important to the investigation.
In Louisiana, attorneys for Alton Sterling's family are suing. Sterling was shot and killed by police outside a Baton Rouge convenience store 2.5 years ago. No criminal charges were brought in the death. Attorney Chris Stewart.
What we've realized even further is that this was not just the act of a rogue cop. Blame Salamone. This was a systematic failure by the police department.
Wall Street right now, the Dow is up 158 points. The NASDAQ is up 81. This is CBS News.
National Mortgage Lender Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Licensed in all 50 states, equal housing lender, NMLS number 3030.
Hi, it's Patti LaBelle. You've seen me cooking in my kitchen on TV. I know you have. I'm as comfortable making sweet desserts in my kitchen as I am making sweet music. And when I make my delicious treats, there's only one egg that's good enough for me and my family. Eggland's Best. With 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. And better taste. It doesn't get any better than the best. Eggland's Best.
Oh, bud, I heard these guys live once.
How was it?
It was way more like this!
This is awesome! Give them a concert experience they'll never forget and save on the ticket. Buy 2 boxes of participating Big G cereals like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Honey Nut Cheerios, or Lucky Charms for a $10 Ticketmaster ticket cash code.
Hey, how about tickets to the game Sunday?
Seriously? Must be 13 years or older. Redeem impact code by 10/27/18. Exclusions apply. Visit Ticketmaster.com/General Mills Cereal for full terms and conditions.
Questions about the future of a host on a TV show apparently have been answered.
Published reports say Julie Chen is out at the talk.
Let's start talking.
She is definitely leaving the talk and will 100% stay with Les, a source told the New York Post. CNN says Chen will step down during a videotaped message on the show today. Chen's husband, Les Moonves, resigned as CBS CEO amid sexual assault allegations. The talk is now in its 9th season, and Chen has not been there in the last week since this season premiered. Matt Piper, CBS News.
Well, the town council in North Smithfield, Rhode Island, has voted to approve a resolution that calls for town officials to stop buying Nike products. It's about the decision to use former San Francisco quarterback Colin Kaepernick in ads. The ACLU of Rhode Island says it could be held liable for violating the First Amendment. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A Chattanooga man was shot in the foot, but he was the one who was arrested.
China has hit back and said it'll levy tariffs on $60 billion of U.S. products.
And Glenn Donaldson sentenced to 20 years in prison for killing his son-in-law. These stories top Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7. News Director Russell Stroud.
And Val St. John reporting.
Corey Reynolds reportedly told the police in the hospital that he accidentally shot himself in the foot, but investigators quickly discovered that story didn't quite add up. He then changed his story, allegedly telling officers that he was actually shot at, claiming he didn't want anyone to get into trouble, so he altered his story. Mr. Reynolds' girlfriend, however, told the police that she was the one who shot him because he charged at her with a gun. She had bruises on her face and neck to back up the story, and Reynolds has multiple charges for domestic assault. Reynolds was arrested.
China has retaliated, announcing $60 billion of U.S. imports. CBS News White House correspondent Weijia Jiang.
President Trump fired off 2 tweets doubling down on this. And he said, that, look, China has openly stated that they are actively trying to impact and change our election by attacking our farmers, ranchers, and industrial workers. He goes on to say that those people, those Americans, understand that China has been unfairly targeting the U.S. for decades now, and that this is just part of the process.
58-year-old Glenn Donaldson was sentenced to 20 years in prison for the killing of his own son-in-law. Kenneth Levi was shot and killed at his kitchen sink by Donaldson, who claimed self-defense. Defense attorney Ben McGowan claimed Levi threatened Donaldson with a knife. The victim's mother asked the judge to give Donaldson the maximum sentence of 25 years. The judge, Don Poole, decided on 20 years behind bars for Donaldson.
Wilmington, North Carolina residents who've been cut off by floodwaters from Hurricane Florence are receiving food, water, and tarps. CBS News correspondent David Begnaud is in Wilmington, tells us how the process works.
Cars will pull up. They'll give you an MRE and water enough to last you for about 4 days. 3 different locations around New Hanover County. This plan was in place before the hurricane, and they had to activate it. But listen, it's been tough to get this stuff in here. At one point, they were thinking we should fly it in because the roads, the city is all but surrounded. You can't really get out of Wilmington, or if you evacuated, you sure as heck can't get back in.
3 teenagers went missing in Bradley County. Haley Bauman, Miguel Gomez, and Kazaa Whitaker were all found safe following their disappearance in Bradley County. Their families say they ran away together.
Republicans are hoping to salvage Judge Brett Kavanaugh's endangered Supreme Court nomination with a televised showdown between him and a woman accusing him of sexually assaulting her when they were teens. CBS's Nancy Cordes.
Republican leaders agreed to hold